Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the first season of Courage, the Cowardly Dog. Now, Courage, the Cowardly Dog, it was honestly one of my favorite shows growing up. I used to watch this anytime that it was on, and it was on quite a bit on Cartoon Network for a good amount of time. So, this was definitely a show that I have a fair amount of nostalgia for. And despite there being a few things that I definitely did notice and wasn't that big of a fan of after revisiting the series after all this time, I still feel for the most part it still holds up really well. Now, before I get around to sharing my thoughts on this first season, I would like to give a special shout out to Radic for requesting another video. And if there is another TV show review, film review, or topic that you would like to see me discuss or cover in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. The link to both is in the video description down below, as well as a Cash App option if that works out better for you. And I will try to get to your request as soon as I possibly can. Now, Courage the Cowardly Dog is the creation of John R. Dilworth, who created the series, and I believe he also directed most of, if not every episode of the show. And he also was the writer for a large amount of episodes, along with a handful of other writers like Irvin S. Bauer, David Stephen Cohen, Bill Marsili, and Craig Shemin. But a lot of the shorts were eventually written by John R. Dilworth. At least, well, actually, no. David Stephen Cohen, I would probably say, is the one who wrote most of the episodes. Because if you look at the at least the first two seasons, he's the guy who is really on he's credited the most. So he's the one that has the most credits when it comes to the teleplays for the series. It features the voiceover work of Marty Grabstein, who voices Courage the Cowardly Dog and did a really great job. He injected this scaredy dog with so much charm, and it was like almost like a New Yorker, like Jersey accent, and it just somehow fit despite it. Honestly, in retrospect, kind of sounded like something that wouldn't be a good fit at all, but it wound up working, and he showcased a lot of personality and the way that he was able to provide Courage with so much charisma as well as different layers when it comes to his voiceover work and also the comedy. Like a lot of the funniest bits in this is really Grabstein uh, doing all these different reactions for Courage when it comes to him being scared. And that's a big part of the enjoyment of the cartoon is just hearing Grabstein find different ways to show Courage being scared out of his mind by whatever he's seeing throughout the series. The rest of the voiceover cast is also great, though. Grabstein is really supported well by his supporting cast with Thea White, who voices Muriel, who's this sweet and old kind lady with it's kind of an Irish or Scottish kind of accent, and the chemistry that she has with Grabstein is really something else, as well as the chemistry she has with the voice actor who plays Eustace, Lionel Wilson, and Arthur Anderson, who would voice the character once Wilson passed away. And yeah, both of those voice actors, they really did a good job making Eustace their own and making this cranky old man who in a lot of ways is not a very likable character into a fun character to see experience all of these nightmarish scenarios that he's thrown into, or him getting uh, punished by Muriel, or him ultimately getting one-upped by Courage and certain points in the series. Every series needs a good foil, and Eustace is one of the better ones. And a big reason why is because of the strength of the voice acting by Lionel Wilson and Arthur Anderson. Now, Paul Schoeffler also does some voiceover work when it comes to various different characters, as well as other voice actors like Jason Antoon, Peter Fernandez, Jim Cummings, Kaf Susi. But the main voice cast is Marty Grabstein, Thea White, Lionel Wilson, at least for most of the first season. Arthur Anderson comes in as well to voice Eustace, and Paul Schoeffler is also probably I would definitely say one of the main voice actors as well, because he does a lot of the different villains and different various monsters or creatures or different characters that pop up throughout the series. It also features a score by Jody Gray and Andy Ezrin, and it's very much an element of the cartoon that really makes it into something great, because the cartoon has this very unique mood and atmosphere to it, especially for a kid's cartoon, and the score really emphasizes that. And it just adds to the creep factor when it comes to the creepier segments, and it also adds to the comedy and the other surreal elements of the series. Now, the cartoon, it started out with a pilot episode. There was a pilot episode that debuted in 1996 called The Chicken from Outer Space. Now, The Chicken from Outer Space actually made an appearance on the Cartoon Network show What a Cartoon, which was a series that really was a place where a lot of cartoonists and creators, they submitted their pilots in hopes that Cartoon Network or some other network would pick up their cartoon. And this was a short that was already gaining traction, though, because it actually got nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. And this is a really amazing pilot episode. I think this is still one of the best episodes of the show. And it's a shame that it's not on this DVD. I don't know if it was like a rights issue or something, but it's not a part of this DVD set, which is honestly too bad. Because this is a great pilot. The animation style is a little bit different than what you would see in the final series, but it still works well. John R. Dilworth wrote this episode. I think he also directed it. And it's different from the show because of the fact that there's really not much when it comes to voiceover work. Courage, I don't think, says anything. I don't think Eustace and Muriel say that much either. So there's really not a lot of dialogue. So it's mostly just actions and very little dialogue, but it gets the point across and it really showcases the show and the potential of the series in a very effective fashion. So you've got this, cowardly dog, Courage, and he's staying in this farmhouse with his family, Muriel and Eustace, and there's this UFO that stops by, and out of the UFO pops a chicken. And this chicken starts tormenting them. So it's this alien chicken starts messing with Courage and his family, and even leaves behind eggs. Eustace eats one of the eggs, And then he starts transforming into a crazed alien chicken. And the animation in that sequence is pure nightmare fuel. Like, it's a really unsettling, unnerving transformation scene. And I could definitely see why this caused a lot of sleepless nights for kids when they saw this on What a Cartoon back in the 90s. Because it definitely did for me. Because rewatching this pilot, I was like, "Oh my god, that just unlocked a bit of childhood trauma for me." I was like, "Oh my god, it's that chicken episode." Like, I completely forgot that. Uh, that messed me up. Like, I was actually having a hard time sleeping for like a few days after seeing that. Courage eventually takes out the alien chicken along with Eustace with a laser gun. And then the end of the episode is similar to how a lot of segments, well, episode maybe is not the right word to use, but the end of the pilot is the same as a lot of the other shorts in the series, where it ends with Courage on the lap of his beloved Muriel. Now, the first season, it didn't really debut until 3 years after the pilot in 1999. And the first season is comprised out of 13 episodes. And each episode has two shorts in it. So the first episode has the shorts A Night at the Cat's Motel and Cajun Granny Stew. And A Night at the Cat's Motel is written by John R. Dilworth and Irvin S. Bauer. And out of the two shorts in the first episode, I definitely like this one the most. So, Courage and his owners, they actually are on vacation and they decide to stop at a motel on the last day of their vacation called the Cat's Motel. But unbeknownst to them, it's owned by this nefarious cat named Katz. And this cat has this obsession with spiders, to the point where he has actually gone out of his way to provide the spiders with a lot of different places to hang out and stay as guests in his hotel. Oh, his motel. And he even is feeding the motel's guests to these spiders. So the next ones on the menu are Courage and his family. So Courage has to find a way to uh, save Eustace and Muriel from these spiders and from cats. And the spiders are pretty freaky looking. And I mean, just anything involving spiders, it gives me the heebie jeebies, to be perfectly honest. And the cats, he's fun to watch. He's definitely got a very distinct personality. And one of the best parts of this short, though, has nothing to do with the spiders. It's just this game of handball between Courage and cats, and it's it's absurd. It's out of nowhere, and it's honestly really funny. And eventually, Courage does take out the spiders, and he and Eustace and Muriel escape from cats. And like a lot of shorts in this, Eustace is left in a pretty bad uh, position by the end of the short. He's just wrapped up in all these spider webs, and he is not released from his prison by the end of the short. It's one of those things where it's like serves you right, because he's a total dick. Like, he scares Courage. He's mean to Muriel. But that's really the point. That's the point of the character. This is also, I think, the one where Courage definitely talks more. This is the season where Courage talks more. And later seasons, he didn't talk as much. And I definitely feel that was the right move. Grabstein does a great job voicing the character. But I don't really feel that Courage needs a lot of dialogue. And there are moments where it's kind of hard to watch and kind of annoying. Like there's this repeated gag where he talks about how uh at least I'm not so and so. I'm not. It's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, and it's not really that funny. So I definitely feel that was the better choice. And at points, Courage can get a little irritating with this whole shtick, with the whole you know, I that can if you're binge watching this show, it can get a little on your nerves. But I still enjoy the series, and this was a enjoyable short. Great way to start out the show. The second short is Cajun Granny Stew, and this one was also written by John R. Dilworth and Irvin S. Bauer. And I don't know, isn't really that big on this one, to be honest. It deals with a Cajun fox who's trying to kidnap Muriel so he can put her in his stew. Like, it wasn't really that scary. It wasn't really that funny. It was tolerable, but it was also mostly forgettable. I believe the guy who voiced the stew guy is Jim Cummings. I think he voiced the fox. I am pretty sure that the cat was voiced by Paul Schoeffler, and I loved the way he voiced the cat. He did some really great work in A Night at the Cat's Motel. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, there are better episodes in the first season, but this was still not too bad. A Night at the Cat's Motel was definitely one of the better segments of the first season. So that alone made it pretty decent. The second episode is two more shorts: The Shadow of Courage and Dr. Lee Quack, Amnesia Specialist. The Shadow of Courage is written by John R. Dilworth and Irvin S. Bauer again. This one deals with like a wealthy miser, like a guy who's just a greedy jerk who then dies alone in his observatory, and then his shadow comes to life, and then he starts messing with Muriel and Eustace and Courage, because he starts tormenting them and scaring them. And I liked this one. The idea was fun. This old rich douche's shadow winds up coming to life, and he's just pranking people and messing with the people in Courage's home, and Courage himself. And the way that the shadow does it is pretty clever and innovative and fun. The shadow is also voiced by, I think it's Schoeffler again. Actually, it's Peter Fernandez. Peter Fernandez voices the shadow and does some great work. Adds some fun personality to it. And eventually, Courage, through the help of his trusty computer, which is another uh, common character throughout the first season and throughout the series, voiced by Simon Preble, who I definitely wanted to give him some extra props because I love his voiceover work as a computer. He just does such a great job with his deadpan when the computer is just he's just he's just continuing to needle Courage like throughout the series, and just condescend Courage with this condescending tone. And the computer is kind of a jerk too if you think about it, but the way that the computer does it, it's it's funny. And he asks the computer for help, and the computer tells Courage that, hey, you need to I think it's one of those things, you just need to talk to the shadow. Talk to the shadow and say some nice things about it. And Courage eventually does, and the shadow feels bad, and then the shadow leaves him alone. So I didn't mind that. I actually liked it. The second short, though, Dr. Lee Quack, Amnesia Specialist, I I wasn't the biggest fan of this one. Eustace, while he's trying to repair the roof of the farmhouse, he screws up, knocks a loose board off, which hits Muriel in the head. She winds up getting amnesia as a result, and Eustace tries to essentially manipulate Muriel because now he can use her to be his slave woman to do whatever he wants because she can't remember anything. I'm telling you, Eustace is a dick. And he also throws Courage out of the house, but then Courage calls uh, a number for an amnesia specialist, and it's this duck who's got a French accent who is crazy named Dr. Lee Quack. And there's just a lot of cartoon violence in this and slapstick with Dr. Lee Quack with a giant mallet. And I was just like, eh. Like, it wasn't really that funny or that great to me. A lot of the weaker segments and shorts in this season, and honestly in this series, are the ones that don't have anything supernatural, or they don't have a more distinct, memorable or strong villain that Courage is going up against, like Cats. Dr. Lee Quack is just it's just silly and not really that unique or interesting, and just kind of dumb to me. So yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of that short. Episode 3, two more shorts. First one is Courage Meets a Bigfoot, and the second one is Hothead. And this is the first episode that featured two shorts that I liked. The first short with Courage Meets Bigfoot, it's rather sweet. There's a reward that's being offered for Bigfoot's capture, which of course is making Eustace see dollar signs. So now he's trying to catch Bigfoot, but Courage eventually befriends the creature because the creature apparently isn't that mean. It's actually kind of a nice little monster. And this is an episode that definitely shows Courage's heart. And there are a fair amount of episodes like that in this season. There's another one with a hunchback that I also really liked. So this was a nice change of pace. Like, there are some, spooky stuff with the Bigfoot, but then eventually the Bigfoot is revealed to, be pretty kind. Be closer to Harry from Harry and the Hendersons than, a ravenous, evil monster that Eustace or other people think he is. And it gets to the point where Eustace is trying to catch the Bigfoot, and he's got the Bigfoot, and there's like a mob outside, and the mob has seen the good nature of this Bigfoot, and they're like, let him go. And Eustace is like, no. And then they just decide to chase after Eustace. So now Eustace is the one that's getting chased by this angry mob that was initially going to try to catch and kill Bigfoot. So yeah, I like that short quite a bit, actually. The second short is Hothead, and this one I like even more. This one was written by David Stephen Cohen, and by the way, Irvin S. Bauer, he wrote Dr. Lee Quack and Courage Meets Bigfoot. And Hothead, this one deals with Eustace trying to do something about his balding, or him being bald, because he's already bald. He's not balding anymore, he is bald. So he's tired of being bald, and so he tries to go and get this experimental hair tonic from this creepy doctor after he follows this advertisement from the newspaper. But it has this side effect where if he gets mad, he becomes a hothead. And like veins start popping out of his head, his eyeballs pop out, and he blows up things that he's mad at. So there's something that happens while they're driving home, and he blows up a guy in road rage, continues to blow stuff up, blows up the house by the end of the episode. And the shots of Eustace having the veins pop out of his head and his head is bulging and his eyes are bulging out. It's honestly pretty freaky, pretty disturbing, and it was clearly a homage to Scanners, and I was like, "Well, that's cool. That's pretty awesome." So yeah, I enjoyed it. I would say that was the first short in the season that I really loved. There were other ones that I liked and enjoyed quite a bit, but that's the first one that I loved, where I was like, "Okay, that is a great short." Uh, Now the fourth episode, two more shorts: "The Demon in the Mattress" and "Freaky Fred." And "The Demon in the Mattress" is written by Irvin S. Bauer. This one is another good one. So Muriel's having a hard time with her old mattress and is done with it. So she orders a new one, but it has an evil spirit in it, which then possesses her. And then it becomes like an Exorcist parody. She like spins her head around, is puking, green vomit. And eventually, Courage finds a way to exorcise the demon out of her, and they return the mattress back to these little demons that were trying to, sell the mattress to unsuspecting victims. It's short, but it's sweet. It's fun. It's got some creepy visuals, and it's a nice homage to The Exorcist. The second segment, though, is like the first time where the show really freaked me out. And this episode, I mean, well, not really, because the chicken from outer space freaked me out when I was younger. But this was the first episode of the series that I remember seeing, because I don't really remember Hothead. But this particular segment, man, did this mess with me. This one stuck with me, and it still sticks with me now. And this one is Freaky Fred. It's written by David Stephen Cohen and Bill Marsili. And Muriel has a nephew who's unsettling, to say the least, named Fred, who was a barber. But he wound up losing his barber profession because he's obsessed with being naughty. And he cuts people's hair off. He just shaves people bald. And the way that this segment is written, it's very unnerving because it's mostly from the perspective of Freaky Fred. It's from his point of view throughout most of the episode. He speaks in these really eerie rhymes, and then you have the voice that is provided for the character, which I think, trying to remember who it is, a Paul Schoeffler. It's Paul Schoeffler again, who's just honestly one of the show's MVPs, and he voices Freaky Fred in a way that is just incredibly freaky, like really unsettling, unnerving, gets under your skin, especially the way that he says naughty, like it's just like ugh. Like it gives me goosebumps. And he winds up cornering Courage and starts shaving Courage, and Courage is trying to prevent him from shaving off the last of his hair, which is on his tail. And eventually he calls a number, and then somebody comes over and takes him away. And that's the end of the short. It's not really anything supernatural, but it's still pretty horrifying because of just how creepy and just really Fred is. The fifth episode has two more shorts: Night of the Weremole, written by David Stephen Cohen, and Mother's Day, which is written by Irvin S. Bauer. And Night of the Weremole is one of my favorite shorts of the entire series. This is another one that I remember seeing as a kid and it really leaving quite an impression on me. I remember seeing this one late one night, and it was another sleepless night. Let's just leave it at that. This one deals with a weremole that is on Muriel and Eustace's property, uh, hanging out around their farmhouse, and Muriel winds up getting bitten by it, and then turns into a weremole when there is the next full moon. And the way the weremole looks with these like just massive sharp teeth and the beady eyes and just everything, and it's so voracious and vicious. It's really scary, to be perfectly honest, especially for a kids cartoon. And Courage gets the help of the computer to try to find a cure for Muriel, and Eustace is trying to, take out the weremole, who he thinks is a mouse, and he's got a mallet, and so he's trying to take out the weremole, and then it's like whack-a-mole, like the weremole's popping up out of these different parts of the bed or the floor, and Eustace is trying to get it and keeps missing it. And then Courage comes up with this idea, thanks to the computer, to because he needs fur from the weremole, the original weremole, and he needs to feed it to Mariel in order to cure her. And so he dresses up like a bunny to lure the weremole, almost gets eaten by the weremole himself, gets the fur, feeds it to Mariel, she turns back to normal. That was a great short. Really good one. Now, the second short, though, in this episode, one of the more forgettable ones, it's just Eustace visiting his mother for Mother's Day with Courage. Eustace is trying to win his mother's love, but she would rather dote on Courage, and it pisses off Eustace. And Courage is also really tired of being doted on by the mom. And then it ends kind of the way you would really expect it to, with Eustace and his mom sharing a kind and cute little moment with one another and with Courage, and it's got its heart in the right place, but at the same time there's nothing scary about it, there's nothing supernatural, there's nothing really that unique. It just feels like it doesn't belong in this show. 'Cause I was like, really, there's nothing scary here, there's nothing at all creepy or eerie. It's just a typical Mother's Day episode. Kind of reminded me of the kind of stuff I would see in like Garfield and Friends or something. Like it was all right, but I definitely prefer it when it's, more surreal and sci-fi, or has horror elements. The sixth episode, two more shorts, The Duck Brothers, which is written by Craig Shemin, and Shirley the Medium, which is also written by Craig Shemin. The Duck Brothers deals with these two alien ducks that for some reason sound like they're doing Beatles impressions, sound like Paul McCartney, and I think one of the other Beatles members as well. Muriel is trying to break into a military compound because she is being controlled by these alien ducks. And Courage, of course, is confronting the aliens and trying to save Muriel. And the reason why the ducks have taken control of Muriel's body is because they want to try to save their brother. And so it just ultimately turns out the way you would expect. Courage works together with the ducks and frees Muriel, but then controls Eustace and utilizes him in order to free the third brother. The Duck Brothers give Courage some thanks, and they fly off in their spaceship. This is just a okay short. Another one that's kind of forgettable, to be honest. The second short I liked more, Shirley the Medium. This one deals with Eustace being obsessed with this locked box that was left behind by his dead brother, Horst. He's trying to open it, and he's having no luck. So he eventually gets a hold of this medium named Shirley the Medium. And he gets her to contact his brother, despite the fact that Horst is telling him, hey, don't open this box. But the box gets opened, and there's this giant hand, and it's grabbing after Eustace and other people. And Courage winds up getting the medium to help him take care of the entity that's in the box. And Eustace winds up trapped in the box by the end of the short, but he gets all of his money now. And that's what he was obsessed with. He was obsessed with the box because of the fact that he thought that it had money in it. And there was like a dollar. I don't think it was a dollar bill, but there was some money in the box when he eventually opened it. But then he gets trapped inside it, and there's like mountains of money inside this box, but he has no way to get it out of the box. I think that that short is a great message when it comes to greed, really. It definitely is something that I think can really get the point across to audiences young and old when it comes to the dangers of greed. So, yeah, I like that one. And I like Shirley the Medium as well. She's a repeated character throughout the series. Um, she actually makes more than one appearance along with like the doctor guy who I think is voiced by Jason Antoon. So yeah, Mary Testa, she's the one that voices Shirley the medium. Does a great job too, voicing the character. So the seventh episode, it features two more shorts, King Ramsay's Curse and The Clutching Foot. This is the episode that I have the most nostalgia for. This is the one that I would probably say I saw the most, I think. And the first short is definitely one of the best of the season and one of the best of the entire show, King Ramsay's Curse. It's written by Bill Marsili, my bad, and it deals with this King Ramses, this Egyptian ghost. There's a bunch of cat burglars. They steal this ancient Egyptian slab. They wind up getting confronted by its owner, King Ramses. He's trying to tell them to return the slab, and they're all like, "Nah." And he makes them pay, but with a plague of locusts that eats them and their car and leaves nothing behind. What happens is the slab winds up somewhere near the farmhouse. It gets buried there. I believe that's what the cat burglars did. They buried it somewhere near the farmhouse, and then they got confronted by Ramses later and got eaten by the locusts. Eustace winds up taking the slab from Courage because Courage is digging. He finds the slab, takes it in to the house. Eustace initially is like, "This is trash." And then he finds out that it's actually worth something because it's a priceless Egyptian slab. And now he's trying to sell it to the highest bidder. And he's not willing to relinquish it because Eustace is a greedy prick. And Ramses keeps showing up. And he is just really trying to get Eustace to return the slab. And he's telling him, return the slab. And Eustace is like, no. And I was like, fine, I'm going to give you the first of these curses. Return the slab or you will feel my wrath. And the first curse is causes a flood in the house. Courage winds up going into the basement, pulls a plug, drains it. Then there's another curse, which is this annoying song, Ramses, Ramses, and Courage winds up taking the record player and destroying it. Then the third one is the locusts, and the locusts wind up destroying the house, and Eustace, though, he still refuses to give up the slab, so Ramses just winds up taking the slab back and making Eustace a part of the slab. So now Eustace is like a hieroglyph on the slab, is somewhere in a pyramid in ancient Egypt. I was like, serves you right, Eustace. So yeah, I love it. It's a great short. I know a lot of people, they point out this one is the one that scared them the most. What's crazy though is even though I saw this one a lot, it never really freaked me out as much. Yeah, there's this uncanny valley CGI of Ramses in it, but Ramses wasn't that scary to me. Return the slab or fear or suffer my wrath. And maybe it's because I watched The Mummy with Brendan Fraser a lot. So I was like, oh, it's like Imhotep from The Mummy. I was like, okay, that's cool. I mean, and Ramses is pretty funny too. He's got that annoying song that he uses one of his curses. There's the whole bit where Courage winds up breaking the record, and then Ramses has a response where it's like, "Oh, come on!" Like even Ramses is like, "Give me a break." Yeah, I could definitely see why this is one that definitely has stood the test of time for sure, but it never really freaked me out as much as Night of the Weremole or the pilot episode or Freaky Fred or the next one, The Clutching Foot. So this short deals with a fungus on Eustace's foot that becomes sentient and then consumes him whole. And then the toes are like these mobsters who speak like old fashioned black and white mobster characters, from black and white mobster movies. Like, oh, see, this is the plan, see? And I was like, okay. Like, I completely forgot that that's really what the foot was. Because all I remembered was like the scene where Eustace gets taken over by the fungus and it's just this giant purple and green fungus foot. And I'm now to think about it, that is still a pretty disgusting and messed up thing to happen to somebody. That is pretty horrifying. But then it just kind of broke it up with the see, and then the foot, is kidnapping and taking Muriel, and they're trying to rob banks and doing all this other stuff. And Courage eventually finds a cure, and the cure, I think I think, yeah, it's dog spit. So he winds up just licking the fungus and eventually stops them. And but then the fungus is now on his tongue at the end of the short. I was like, okay, all right. It was fun, but it's nostalgic for me because that's one I definitely remember and has stuck with me. But yeah, I could see why some people really responded more to King Ramses more than the Clutching Foot. Episode 8, two more shorts, The Hunchback of Nowhere and The Gods Must Be Goosey. I like The Hunchback of Nowhere. It was another sweet episode that shows Courage's kind side, how he sees the good in people, and he winds up befriending this hunchback voiced by Alan Swift who just wants to get a place to stay and stay out of the rain for a night. And Eustace, of course, is scared and pissed off that this is a hunchback, is trying to kick him out, but he winds up hiding in the barn. Courage becomes friends with him, and Muriel also is getting very attached to this hunchback as well, and is entertained by the hunchback. And the hunchback is even like he's trying to belittle the hunchback and give him crap, but the hunchback is like is firing back. You're bold, and so Eustace just gets more and more pissed off, and eventually the hunchback has to leave. But it was a sweet episode that had a good message to it, and it was a little spooky at points of the hunchback, but it had a good balance of heartfelt writing as well as some of the creepy stuff, and yeah, I liked it. The next one though, I hated. I think this might be my least favorite episode of this season. I really did not like this episode. I mean, this short at all. This is The Gods Must Be Goosey. written by David Stephen Cohen. And there's this goose god that falls in love with Muriel and starts courting her, and that's all that it is. And he's annoying. He's not clever. He's not scary. It was terrible. I really did not like it at all. The ninth episode features two more shorts: "The Queen of the Black Puddle," written by Bill Marsili, and "Everyone Wants to Direct" by Craig Shemin. And the first short I liked, and honestly, the second short I liked. This is another one that I would say is one of the better episodes because I liked both shorts. The first short deals with this puddle that is left behind after a rainstorm. And inside of it is this queen of the Black Puddle who is trying to uh, steal Eustace. And eventually she succeeds, steals him, drags him into the puddle outside, and then Courage winds up diving into the puddle to rescue Eustace. And the design of the queen was pretty creepy and cool, definitely a goth queen kind of thing. And the stuff with the puddle was fun. Reminded me of Poltergeist 3, but done a lot better. So yeah, I enjoyed that one. And then the second short is "Everyone Wants to Direct," and it deals with this director, this zombie director named Benton Tarantella. And he tricks Courage and his owners to use their basement to shoot a movie. And then Courage does some research and then finds out that he's this guy who knew this other a colleague of his, friend of his, who is a psycho, and his body is buried in the basement. So he's trying to resurrect him so they can feast upon Muriel and Eustace and Courage's bodies, and then go on to continue to feast on more people's brains. And so Courage rewrites the script and then has Tarantella and his partner get buried again. I liked it. I actually liked it quite a bit because it was like a movie tie-in episode with some movie parody stuff. The 10th episode features two more segments: "The Snowman Cometh" and "The Precious, Wonderful, Adorable, Lovable Duckling," both written by Irvin S. Bauer. Now, "The Snowman Cometh" I really enjoy. It features a fun premise, cool concept. It takes Courage, Eustace, and Muriel out of nowhere, outside of their farm, and it places them in the Arctic. And they wind up having to deal with this snowman who is the last of his kind, and he has invented this bit of technology that enables him to suck the non-melting gene out of humans. And he has targeted Muriel and Eustace. So now it's up to Courage to save his family from this snowman. And what makes it so fun is not just due to the different kind of setting in the Arctic and the cool idea of a snowman, but it's a snowman who is a Sean Connery parody, to the point where there's even like a James Bond reference. "The name's a man, Snowman." So I was just like, that is fun. And I never really felt that Sean Connery and a snowman would be a really good fit, but it is. And honestly, Snowman is one of my favorite Courage characters as a result. So yeah, really enjoy that short. The other short in this episode, though, I don't enjoy nearly as much. This one deals with a duckling that hatches and then really becomes close with Eustace and thinks that Eustace is its mom, and then is very jealous and overprotective. So when he sees that Muriel is somebody who's close to Eustace, he starts targeting Muriel, trying to kill her. Courage, of course, steps in, trying to save Muriel. And because of that, the duckling then starts to go after Courage. And because the duckling is very kind to Eustace, Eustace doesn't do anything about it. So it's up to Courage to stop this duckling. It felt like Tiny Toons or Looney Tunes leftovers. Wasn't really the biggest fan of this one. The 11th episode has two more segments: Heads of Beef and Club Cats. Heads of Beef was written by Irvin S. Bauer. Club Cats was written by David Stephen Cohen. Heads of Beef deals with Muriel, who's sick, and Eustace decides to take Courage with him to go get some food. They wind up at this local diner run by this pig, and it's insinuated that the pigs are serving people. They're serving a different kind of meat. So that's the horror of this, and it's pretty disturbing, especially for a kids episode. But you find out in a twist later that they're not actually serving people. It's not one of those instances. It's not what you think it is, even though it definitely looks like it. But really what's happening is they're making these meat sculptures, and they're making art pieces out of meat, and that are inspired by different people who visit the diner. And they even made a sculpture of Courage. Or actually, it was a sculpture of Eustace. They wanted to make a sculpture of Courage, but it's a sculpture of Eustace. And that was a twist I didn't see coming, so I definitely got to give that one credit. Did a good job, like maintaining tension too throughout with this whole like, oh, are they serving meat? Yeah, human meat. But then of course, then you find out like, no, it's not. It's just a misunderstanding. The second short, it's fun because Katz is back, and you get to see Courage, Eustace, and Muriel on a cruise. They wind up getting marooned at an island, and then they run into Katz, who's now on this island. And he's used this spa to transform people into machines, and he uses these machines to fight each other in this like gladiator arena for his own amusement. And so Muriel gets turned into a washing machine. Eustace gets turned into a wrecking ball, and they fight. And Courage has to try to save them. And Courage winds up turning himself into a helicopter, and he saves Eustace and Muriel. But of course, they aren't able to transform back to normal, so they just wind up on this back on the cruise ship in their machine form. That one was fun because of the originality and the uniqueness of the spa and turning people into machines, and also having cats come back was definitely a good thing. The 12th episode is two more shorts: The Revenge of the Chicken from Outer Space, written by John R. Dilworth and Irvin S. Bauer, and Journey to the Center of Nowhere, which is written by Craig Shemin. This is another one that's just okay. I definitely like the first short better than the second one, but it also is something that only really works that well if you have seen the pilot. So what happens is the chicken from outer space returns. He was fried. It was turned into, a fried rotisserie chicken, and he comes back to Earth for retaliation. And he's trying to take Muriel's head, but he winds up pulling Eustace's head off instead. And he uses Eustace and his other alien technology to try to take down Courage, but he screws up in the end, and it gets blasted by a rocket ship. So it's a fun companion to the pilot, but it only works that well if you've seen the pilot episode. The second short, though, Journey to the Center of Nowhere, I really didn't care for. It deals with like eggplants. There's a bunch of eggplants who are mad at Muriel because she uses them for cooking too much when it comes to her dishes. And they want to take Muriel and they want to cook her. And so Courage has to go in and act like he's an eggplant to try to trick them to not go to war and kidnap Muriel and then cook her. But then they find out that he's lying, and they try to take over the farm. And of course, Courage consults the computer, and then he winds up giving the eggplants water, and then they just give up, and they just stop trying to take over the farm and try to cook Muriel because of the fact that they were just mad because they were thirsty. I was like, not really big on that one. And then the 13th episode is kind of a weak end to this season because it's 2 week segments. So you have Little Muriel and The Great Fusilli. Little Muriel is written by David Stephen Cohen, and The Great Fusilli is written by Irvin S. Bauer. And Little Muriel, I know it's one that some fans really like. I never really could get into this one. There's a tornado. Muriel gets sucked into it. She comes out of the tornado, but now she's 3. So now she's a 3-year-old. Courage must find a way to try to get her back to her correct age, and he does that by commandeering, to be more correct, a plane, and then drops 3-year-old Muriel into the top of a tornado, and then she's able to get spun back to her normal age. The reason why I didn't really care for this one is that Calf Susie, I think, is the one that voiced the Little Muriel, and it's just the same voice that she used for Little Sneezer in Tiny Toons, and I hate that voice, so I just could not get into it because of that. And also, a lot of it is just Little Muriel being an annoying toddler, so I just didn't really care for it. And the Great Facility deals with this alligator named the Great Facility who arrives at the farmhouse, and he's offering Courage and Eustace and Muriel a chance to perform with him on stage and become rich. But he actually has a secret intention to make them permanent parts of his show. And his whole thing is he turns people into puppets. And Courage winds up, I think, using the help of the medium uh, to eventually turn the tables on Fusili and turn him into a puppet. But Eustace and Muriel are still puppets by the end of the short. So it's very much a bittersweet end to that particular segment. But because of the way the show is, they'll be back to normal for the next episode. I enjoyed revisiting this show for the most part. There were some shorts that I liked more than others, but this was still a rather enjoyable watch, and still featured some really solid voiceover work, some great animation, and it's still, to me, definitely one of the more unique and one of the more creative and better shows that Cartoon Network has ever aired on television. So, yeah, if you want to see something that's a little spooky, a little surreal, but also a little wacky, and um very much something uh, that has a lot of cartoon violence and slapstick, then I think there's definitely something that I think you would get a kick out of and find some enjoyment from if you haven't seen it already, which a lot of people already have. But for whatever reason you haven't seen the show yet, if that's the kind of stuff that you're into, definitely give Courage a shot sometime. But anyway, thanks for watching my thoughts on season 1 of Courage the Cowardly Dog. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya. Things I do for love.